Back in my elementary school days, there were three skills that inordinately contributed a large amount to how you were viewed socially. These three skills were your academics, how fast you were, and how good you were at kickball. Which may seem like a somewhat odd assortment, but it was what it was. Now, at the time of the story, I'm going into fifth grade. I'm in fifth grade now. And at this time, I'm roughly the top of sprinting and the top of academics, and good but not great at kickball, which is not a horrible position to be in. But because of the way the school was structured, we had first through third graders together in classes. You then had fourth and fifth graders together in classes, and then sixth graders were the elite assholes that you hated until you became them. Now, because of this system, when I go into fifth grade, we lose our upperclassmen and gain lowerclassmen for our classes, if you will. I'm not an exceptionally social person now. I was more social back then, but not social enough to where I made an effort to get to know all of the new fourth graders, only if sort of the particular environment or circumstances called for it. So I didn't know much about most of them, and I was only roughly aware of them, like their names and their appearance. Now, there was one girl whose name was Kyla, and I didn't know anything about her. The only thing I thought of her was she's very pretty and she does track. That's all I knew. Now, one day, the day comes. I don't know how this came about. I don't know if it was an ordinary day or a special day or who decided it, but we split the class in half and we do a baton race, a single file baton race. So you have two halves. The person in front has a baton on each. You run down to a line suicide drill and then come back, like suicide style, and then come back and hand off the baton to the next person. First half of the class done wins. And there was some, peripheral prize that I don't remember. Like maybe it was like free popsicles or pizza. Who knows? So I'm split into a half, opposite from Kyla. And we also happen to be pretty closely matched up on the first go around. Now, it's not quite perfect. Their line is going slightly faster. So when it comes our turn, she gets handed the baton first, like 3 seconds or so before me. And when I get handed the baton and I take off after her, I'm expecting to catch up to her without too much difficulty. I know she does track, but so do the other fast people in the class. Never was a problem before. I don't catch up to her at all. Like, I don't lose ground, but I don't catch up to her at all. And she beats me. Now, this wasn't too traumatizing yet because she had a head start. I have an excuse. But one of my friends at the time, who's named Carnez, and he recognizes this, and he starts roasting me. And then it is said that after the race concludes, that we're going to do it again. Now, I think we do it a total of 3 times. The second time, which is Parnez is like he wants to see me and Kyla race on even feet. He wants an even starting field. So he looks at the other line and you self-determine your position in the line. There's no like official ordering. So he tries to line it up so that he's in front of me, I'm behind him, and that we're lined up well enough with Kyla that he thinks by the time we get back, we'll be on an even footing to race. Now, I'm not too happy to go along with this because I feel like I have nothing to gain and everything to lose. You know, my immature, sore loser fifth grade version of myself. So the race begins and it gets back to a certain point where we're going faster than them this time. And it comes to a point where Carnez is much faster than the person in the other line who's in front of Kyla. So in theory, if he runs his hardest, I have a massive head start on Kyla, or I don't even race her at all. So there's no meaningful, it's meaningless for the purposes of this. But then Carnez, this motherfucker, as fun as he was a prick. He slows down to a snail's pace to line up with the person perfectly who's in front of Kyla, and so on the way back, it's perfectly matched. And he does a good job of it, and they hand off the batons at equal timing. And so we have an even-footed race. She takes off. She has a great start. She's ahead of me. I'm not panicking yet because I don't have a good start. The other contenders for fastest person in the class have a better start than me. But then again, The exact same thing happens when I reach my top speed. I realize 3/4 of the way down the first half before you turn around that I'm not catching up to her. And then on the way back, about halfway down, I have the realization that, and this is the most vivid memory I have from fifth grade that I can recall off the top of my head, is an extremely vivid. I can see the surroundings, I can imagine the thought. I think to myself, oh my god, she's faster than me. And I'm like, I'm crushed by this. So she beats me. I return a line, and now not only is Carnez roasting me, everyone is all my friends are roasting me, which is like every boy in the class. And I'm like, what I want to say is, you go and race her, but I can't say that because I would be conceding defeat. So I'm just like, I'll get her next time. That she's fast. I know I'm not getting her next time. I truly believe that she's faster than me, and she was. The third time the race comes around, I don't end up racing her. It just didn't pan out. I don't even remember if we made an attempt. I probably tried to avoid it, quite frankly, and I'm blotting that out. But the way I coped with this was I said, well, I'm still better than her in other areas that I deem important, whether it be academics, kickball, or something else. And that was the way I coped. Now, that might have not even been true. I don't even know how good she was at. She wasn't a great kickball player, but I guess I never knew her academics. But the point is, the way I took solace in my defeat was by saying she's not universally better than me. But imagine if she was. Imagine if you had someone with, you know, she was definitely prettier than me. Not that there's much competition, but she was definitely prettier than me. She was definitely faster than me. Now imagine if she was better at kickball. She was smarter. All these other things rolled into one. The looks of Margot Robbie, the athleticism of LeBron James, the IQ of Einstein times three. You know, all of these things rolled into one person. You would probably grow resentful of that person. I think I certainly would. Or at least I know for a fact fifth grade myself probably would. And then I had this memory surface to me in this thought process, and it influenced how I viewed our positions in the sort of public's response to AI. That's a weird segue, I know, but take into account this super Kyla that I've created. Now imagine that this super Kyla isn't even a person that's better than you, it's an algorithm that's better than you, and there's fear mongering surrounding it that this algorithm will lead to the destruction of the world. And that's kind of the predicament we find ourselves in. I believe it was in 1997-ish that Deep Blue, the AI algorithm for chess, beat Garry Kasparov. I don't remember exactly when AlphaGo, the program to play Go, ended up beating Lee Sedol in a Go match 4-1. Probably like somewhere in between 2016 to 2018-ish or something. But I might be misquoting that. But the thing about that is that if you are either Garry Kasparov or Lee Sedol, you can take solace in the fact and comfort that it literally is only an algorithm that spits out the next best chess move or the next best Go move. It doesn't do anything else. Sure, it's better than you at this thing that you're really good at, and that sucks. But it literally only does that. It's not meaningfully a competitor in so many ways. And I think that a lot of the contribution to why we're so uncomfortable with modern AI surpassing our abilities, number one, and probably the biggest reason, is just that it encroaches into more areas than it used to. Or I should say, it encroaches into areas that more people are now paying attention to. So things like art and music and poetry, things that are typically more regarded as, writing. These things are more associated with creativity and things that are central to the human experience and our abilities. So there's that element of it, and it's also just the fact that more people are aware of it. But I think there's a hidden undertone of the idea that these things are not just better than a lot of people at one thing. They're better than them at a lot of things, and they're getting better. Like, I mean, you can make the philosophical. It's hard to make a philosophical case that human cognition is like at the limits of, obviously it's not, but that it's at the limits of anywhere in terms of intellectual ability. Like, it's just a matter of time. As long as you can see that there's no fundamental architectural limitation of AI in principle, even if you think the current AI models are going to be insufficient to get you to a place that supersedes all human intelligence, it's certainly not in theory, or at least it's difficult to make the case that it cannot be done ever. You just need to concede that you can be smarter than humans and that progress is not going to cease forever. Like there's not going to be an indefinite cessation and lack of improvement, unless we go extinct. But at that point, who cares? So this is just a point I think that I came across, and I'm not sure how influential it is, but I think it is. I do think it plays a part. I think it induces a lot more fear in people than otherwise would be the case. Because not only do you have to compete with these things in areas that you view as central to yourself, it's no longer just one area, it's every area. And then you add into that, of course, the peripheral concerns of environmental damage. You add into it the concerns of, loss of jobs. You add into it the loss of purpose, and so on and so forth. And I think this is why we have a product of the generation that is just so, our mindset toward this is the product of these things conglomerating, and it has induced just fear and distaste for the entire prospect. Because on the one hand, we want to continuously argue that this thing will not be better than us as it continuously improves and gets better than us, and it's not narrow enough that we can just dismiss it as a tool as much as we would like to. Now, of course, there are limitations. Is AI conscious? I don't know, probably not. Could it be conscious? I don't know, probably. But again, I don't know. But there's just this inherent thought that we cannot seem to escape, which is that there's no reason to think that you can't just have a bunch of things that are better than you in every way, and that seems to lessen your opinion of yourself and your position in the world. And I think that's a driving force behind where we are, why we are where we are, and it will continue to be a driving force as to where we end up, where we end up. And I'm interested to see how it plays out. And that's really all I have for you. I don't. I hope you enjoyed the elementary school story. So I do with this what you will. I'd be curious to hear thoughts, but I think it's an interesting time we're living in, and despite the fact that the world, in terms of material circumstances for humans, has improved so objectively, happiness and insecurities are far from clearly going in a positive direction.